Hello everyone and welcome to the Bone Zone. This is episode 1 of my CT series, and today we'll be discussing the CT side of cache, primarily all the different setups you should know and the basic nades. To start, we'll be looking at one of the most basic setups of 2-1-2. It's where you have 2 players on A, 1 player mid, and 2 players over by B. The goal of this setup is to allow the 2 players on each site to support each other by using utility and setting up crossfires. At the same time, your player holding mid will look for basic information while denying any potential flanks by the terrorist. The advantages of having 2 players on A and B means that you don't have to be as conservative with your utility and that you can take more risks because you'll have someone else supporting you. These risks could include pop flashing someone into A main, like that, pop flashing someone into squeaky, like that, boosting someone onto shroud, like this. And these are things you're going to want to do maybe once or twice a half. If you keep doing them consistently, the enemy's going to catch on and be able to counter you really well. On B, these risks could be playing someone back checkers, who can hide and bait his teammate on site, boosting a player into vent to help out with mid, or to cover checkers, or even flashing someone into B main / sunroom, just to get that extra map controller to scare off the terrorists, who, look at these guys already running it away. You will generally want to have an op on your mid player to allow him to more easily obtain information and kills. The biggest thing that this player can do in a round is not die. If your player is sitting white box or Z and witnesses multiple terrorists running out, you need to fall back. You already got the information that they are pushing, and if you combine this with any other information that your A or B players have obtained, you can figure out where and how to rotate. An example of this would be if your B players call that sunroom and vents are broken, a smoke has landed tree, and 2 mollies have been thrown at B site. With all of this information, it makes sense to run heaven and post up with the op to make sure that they can't cross site, because it's the most likely place they'll be going. If the enemy is constantly taking mid, it's probably a good idea to switch to a 1-2-2 setup. What that means is you'll have 1 player on A, 2 players mid, and 2 players B. With the 2 players mid, you'll have a rifle supporting from white box, and you'll have an opper and Z posted up. If anything starts happening on A, your rifler can easily rotate through highway, using utility to stop the squeaky and or a main push, and also just having his presence be known, because that's the biggest thing you can do right now. If you're the solo A player, your biggest thing is to not be aggressive. If you go aggressive at the start of the round and you die, you lose your team the round. What you want to do is you want to play a round from sight, or just some cheeky off angle that the enemy won't expect where you can just fall back from. Something like here if they start pushing out, or even playing retake by setting truck. If the enemy starts pushing, you're going to want to use your utility and you're going to want to stall. Some big things are smoke right here, throwing a flash off the vent. Of course that blinds me, but you get the idea. Hiding either MBK or quad, and just making a lot of noise to get the enemy to not push, because you need to stay alive so that your team can come and rotate and help you. I'll go into more depth in a future video of how to hold A, all the different ways of whether solo, with 2 people, or what. That's probably going to be the second video I'll post, which will come out sometime next week. So don't be mad if I don't go in depth for how to hold sites on this video. This is just an overview for the map, and I'll do that in my next video. The 1-2-2 setup can be easily manipulated by the terrorists through a simple highway smoke. If the enemy is still taking mid but also isolating your A player, then it's a good idea to run a 2-2-1 setup where 2 players are on A, 1 player is mid, 1 player is boosted into vents at the start of the round to help mid, and 1 player is anchoring at B. This setup is done to continue to help defend mid, but allow for a much stronger A defense with the 2 players instead of 1. This setup is also good because the vent player can rotate through B extremely quickly, since vents is connected through checkers. This could be a dangerous setup, however, if the terrorists rush B while you're setting up for the vent push, or if they isolate the B anchor, denying the rotate of the vent player through mollies and smokes at checkers. To keep the B player safe, he should play similar to that of the solo A player, whereas he doesn't get aggressive. He uses his utility to stay alive, like that. I will post another video in 2 weeks where I talk about all the different ways to hold B, so be sure to check it out. See what I did there? The biggest thing for this setup to safely get into it is to have your first B player with the spawn wallbang vents at the start. The second B player is then going to want to come and smoke off B main as fast as he can. That may have missed. Then come down with the first player boosting the second one into vents. You're going to want to do this as quickly and as quietly as you can to not alert the terrorists as to what you're doing. Second player can then walk back to site, play back checkers, go heaven or sit tree. And the biggest thing for this is just to make sure your vent player gets to where he needs to be. At the start of the round, it's good to smoke B main every round because it will help disguise it as a default. So that way the terrorists won't know if you're boosting vent every round. If mid continues to be a problem and the terrorists do not attack either bomb site until late game, you can ideally run one of two setups. A 1-3-1 where you have one anchor on A, one anchor on B, and 3 players at mid with one white box, one Z, and one boosted vent. Or you can run a 3-0-2, which is where you have 3 players on A, with one watching down highway, one dedicated A, one sitting by truck as a rotator, and then 2 players by B. With these setups, you're not going to want to run them a whole lot because at the end of the day, mid isn't a bomb site and your priority should be A or B. And so you really have to decide whether to give up mid, whether to have the 3 players on mid, or if you want to start switching up positions or doing some weird boost or even just going for some more aggressive pushes. With these setups, the things to look out for is when you're running the 3-0-2, the 3A, 0 mid, and 2B, is that the terrorists are basically going to have full vent control. So the B players might not know a B hit is coming until it actually happens. And so that's going to be very risky because your rotator will take a while to come down since he's over by truck. And with your 1-3-1, if a hit starts coming in and your A player gets isolated and gets picked at the start of the round or through the execute, and your highway player is only coming up now and your B players are still by B, it's really just going to have to be a save. And so you see there's high risk and low reward to these setups. I was hesitant to include these in the video, but I felt like maybe on lower levels you might want to consider it. But this really isn't something you see on higher levels playing the 3 mid. And so that's why you really want to be careful if/when you use them. This is the second video on my channel. However, this is the first one of this style, and I kind of like it more, where I'm actually in-game talking about things. And of course, in my next 2 videos, I'll go more into depth of how to hold your sites. But let me know in the comments if you prefer this version, or if you prefer how I did it for Overpass, which was my first video of how it was all in Google Slides. And it was basically just a presentation, in-game play. It was just pictures and notes. It was like taking a class almost. So thank you everyone for watching. Again, welcome to the Bone Zone, because Bones is my name. And see you guys next time.